don't even know why I freaking bother, man. But I asked ChatGPT, what is the requirement for gas to have pressure?
For gas to have pressure, a few key requirements need to be met. 1. Gas molecules. The gas must consist of molecules that are in constant random motion. 2. Enclosed space. The gas needs to be within a container or an enclosed space. This containment allows the gas molecules to collide with the walls, creating pressure. 3. Temperature. The temperature of the gas affects the speed of the gas molecules. Higher temperatures increase molecular movement, leading to higher pressure. 4. Number of molecules. The amount of gas molecules in a given volume also influences pressure. More molecules result in more collisions and thus higher pressure.
Pressure is essentially the result of gas molecules hitting the walls of their container.
And before you're gonna go there, we have pressure gradient. I mean, duh. I mean, even in water, man, the water above sits on top of the water below, creating more pressure. Surprisingly, also happens in sediment, rock. The further down you go, the more pressure there is. It's just like kind of obvious. In our world, there's only 3 types of matter that we can test: gas, liquid, solid, right? And this matter separates itself because of its density and buoyancy content. Okay, following? So obviously there's gonna be more pressure down here because there's hydrogen, helium, nitrogen above the air and oxygen that we have down here. This part up here, the helium, the nitrogen, the hydrogen, is pushing against the container, aka firmament, creating the pressure down here. You could go ahead and try to disprove that. I'd like to see you try, but I mean, it's just the natural laws of God. If you don't want to believe that and believe man, it's up to you, man. We all have this freedom to choose the right path or the deception path. So unless you're gonna provide scientific evidence, experiments to prove that gases in your globe model can stick to a ball thanks to gravity, you just have a religious belief. So, to each his own, buddy. I know I'm not gonna convince you. You're just gonna keep believing man, and I'm gonna keep believing the natural laws of God. And oh my God, I cannot wait for all the comments. You don't understand science. You don't understand gravity. Man, the show must continue. So how do I discern my way through ChatGPT's answers? What is correct, what is incorrect? Basically, it comes down to scientific method. Testable, provable, repeatable, scalable, observable. I think I said too much, but basically science. That's how I discern my way, what is true, what is false. It's like there's a lot of things that they say, oh, science proved it. But if you go out and try to prove it yourself, you're gonna run into some barriers. If you stop believing in man so blindly, you'll just be able to discern your way through this world. Study the Bible. Or study sales. Once you study sales, you see that this whole system is operated to sell to the consumer. They sell us fake food, fake news, fake education. Imagine being NASA, selling us fake space for $60 million a day, man. All profit, zero risk. Risk of getting caught. Come on, man. I thought you were a science guy. A science versus pseudoscience guy. Are you just showing your true colors? You just believe what you want to believe? Mr. Pseudoscience? Are you going against your mega church? 1,200 miles. Even the ISS, 250,000 miles, is still considered low Earth orbit. But hey, what do I expect from religious people? They just want to believe what they want to be true. Still waiting, man. Can't wait. Can't wait to be wrong. Prove me wrong, guys. Go to space. Now I'm going to do the responsible thing and make sure to try to help you understand perspective. But first, let me remind you, you're going against your high priest. Your high priest, Neil deGrasse Tyson, says, quote, "From 63 miles up, Nobody has ever seen the curvature from that height. Just want to make that clear. End quote. So if you want to go ahead and do that, you're more than welcome. You guys are always contradicting each other, but you're free to believe as you wish. Free will, it's a double-edged sword. So, perspective. We see the same amount of distance to our right, to our left, behind us, in front of us. So we see in a circle. So that is what creates that illusion of curvature. But we have amateur rockets, amateur weather balloons that from 300,000 feet, there is no such thing as curvature. And you want to believe you see it at 46,000 feet? Oh God, pilots these days. Imagine being so indoctrinated, so educated by the highest levels of academia. They tell you that this data is from a globe model. And then you compare it to a glass dome model onto a flat surface. They did not grab this from a dome model from a light dispersing onto a flat surface. They didn't do that. They grabbed it. All this data is from a globe. Okay? And then we add a little pixie dust to scare away the God deniers, the smart guys. We know they want their own salvation, so we let them be. It's unfortunate. Free will. Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket, and are counted as a small dust of a balance. Behold, he taketh up the isles as a very little thing. Let God be true and every man a liar.
Would you believe me if I told you that all of the stars and planets that we see that are presented to us from the space agencies around the world are to some degree falsified and inaccurate? Because if we take a Nikon P1000, which was aptly named the Globe Buster, we can quickly see how close the stars are because we can zoom in on them in such great detail, and they actually look like sound and light in the etheric waters above, and not like a physical ball of gas and fire. And the planets don't even look like physical planets, they look metaphysical. What about the local sun that we can clearly see in front of clouds? Is this just a facade? Of course it's a facade, because I'm doing my flat earth magic spells on these videos, just like I do with all of my videos, even though we can see the sun literally moving in between clouds all throughout the day. I've seen this with my own eyes myself, countless times. So can you tell me how this is possible if the sun is 93 million miles away and in outer space? I'll tell you how it's possible. It's just a bunch of pointless light refraction happening for no apparent reason, and the light being scattered in every which direction. Can we make an equation for this refraction that's going on? Or is it just completely made up, like this entire video? But did you see how you can see stars through the moon and how it looks completely transparent at night, even though this was for entertainment purposes only? I was watching a documentary on space and how our solar system was formed, and there's one thing I noticed about every piece of imagery that was being shown to me about our solar system. Now, I'm not going to say what that one thing is, that one similarity between all of these videos is, but I want to just hint it at you that this is a documentary, and it's supposed to be documenting what's actually happening in our natural world right in front of us. Now, isn't it just a little bit odd how all of these videos seem to be almost misrepresenting reality in a way? Because if I took my camera and I tried to record any of these said events, would I be able to? That's really odd how this one striking similarity between all of these videos seems to almost make them seem invalid. But of course I watched the documentary on how Mercury was striking into asteroids and it got too close to the sun so it's uninhabitable and all this stuff. And how Jupiter is this massive gas giant and asteroids just crash into it all the time. Yeah. Okay. But of course, I'm making all of this up, and this is for entertainment purposes only.
I think Antarctica contains the doorway to hell. I personally don't believe that there's physical land beyond the ice wall, but we'll get into that. So let's start with the fact that the runway that you land on to get to Antarctica is called Pegasus Runway. If you know about Pegasus, Pegasus is able to travel between heaven, earth, and hell. And Pegasus brings earth and sky together. To me, this is a direct allusion to the firmament and the sky ice, which if you've been around my page, you know I've been trying to find that sky ice video. I still haven't had luck, but I have not stopped looking. A lot of us believe that the oceans are the waters below and the sky is the waters above, based on the biblical verses of God separating the waters below from the waters above. Pegasus is also associated with Poseidon, who is like considered evil by most people that know their mythology stuff. And Poseidon is a horse god. And in the Bible, horses tend to represent like apocalypse, warfare, that type of thing. So a lot of us are familiar with McMurdo Station, which is where they researched the sky ice and stuff like that. So I wanted to break down some of the etymology. Murdo translates to sea and in some cases warrior. So if you follow the theory of like hell being under the ocean, this is basically saying that McMurdo would equate to Lucifer. But here's what I thought was really interesting. If you just break down the word Mer, it translates to wall in multiple languages. Another place in Antarctica is Ross Island. So Ross translates back to the head, the leader, and the ruler. A breeder or keeper of horses, aka Satan, again, because horses in the Bible kind of equate to warfare, and we know who's in charge of that. Looking at the list of science stations and their names, and one of them is called the Kunlun Science Station. So Kunlun means world pillar or axis mundi. This is axis mundi. It's a flat earth with an ice wall and the tree of life through it. One of the stations is called Palmer Station. The meaning of Palmer is a person wearing 2 crossed palm leaves as a sign of having gone on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land. Then there was one called Camera Station, and when you put it in, it switches it over to like the camera spelling, but it literally translates to dark chamber. And then there's one with this name. I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's like Ruda. So these are the associated names and words. One of them references a tree, but this one is Red King. There's a mountain there named Erebus Mountain. Erebus in Greek mythology was the god of darkness and shadows, the personification of the original darkness of the universe. He was also the name of a dark region of the underworld that souls pass through on their way to Hades. Are you guys starting to understand why I think that Antarctica is what's guarding us from hell entering Earth? So then there's an island named Anvur Island, and Anvur translates to anti or against. I have a playlist called God is in Polaris where I talk about how God is in the North Star and in the North Pole, and everything in Antarctica is named something like anti or, you know what I mean, like that type of thing. The Celtic meaning is those who live on both banks, similar to Pegasus being able to travel between realms. So then there's an island called Berkner Island, so I looked it up and it says someone that's from Bavaria, and I'm like, Bavaria? That's where this was founded. And I noticed that quite a few of the names of these things go back to Bavaria. So I asked ChatGPT to give me names of people that had the name Berkner and were associated with the Illuminati. And this is what it fed me. Lloyd V. Berkner. He was a US government astrophysicist that studied UFOs. So then there's one called Elephant Island. So the first thing that came to my mind was the behemoth or the elephant demon. He's from the Book of Job and he's usually paired with a leviathan. Here's one of the natural anomalies of Antarctica. I don't think I can say what this looks like, but I also think this is why we see so many weird creatures in Australia and New Zealand that we don't see anywhere else, because it's so close to Antarctica. If you look at what all of these research stations are doing, they're all doing quantum mechanics. Like they're all messing with the ionosphere, trying to shift dimensions. They're always trying to drill into the ice, which to me means they're trying to break the firmament. But if you look up why they're drilling, it says they're looking for ancient meteorites. I personally think that meteorites are just fallen angels, like falling stars. I think it's kind of like code, like a haha, we know something you don't know when they say things like that. Like they're trying to release ancient beings by drilling through the firmament. And the reason I don't believe that there's physical land outside of the ice wall is because all ancient depictions show this. So I think there might be land in a spiritual realm. I don't think physically though. I think that's why they're always drilling for ice, because in the book of Enoch, it talks about how God uses ice as like protection. So I think the firmament is made out of ice, and I think the ice wall is the guard from this, which would be hell. I think they're trying to drill through the ice wall and trying to break the firmament with like rockets and stuff so that stuff from down below could penetrate it and come onto Earth. A lot of us think that hell is in the ocean, and I've also had several dreams of like demons coming up out of the ocean. What if that's like some kind of metaphor for the fact that we're surrounded in water? Like what if that's why they're trying to drill into the ice? They're trying to get to like the outside water. What if that's what Revelation is talking about when they're saying that the beast comes from the sea? They're trying to get the beast out of the sea, and not like the sea, the ocean, but the waters surrounding our realm. And I've seen stories of people that say that they went through like a passageway and there was like land beyond the ice walls. I have a very open mind with stuff like this. I think it's possible that that was like a spiritual experience. And he was like possibly seeing hell or like another dimension or something. And if you guys did not know, Admiral Byrd is unfortunately weaponized opposition. He is a 33rd degree Freemason, and he was also closely associated with multiple presidents and people in the CIA. So I disregard everything he says. I do not believe him. In the book of Enoch, when Oriel is showing Enoch hell, he talks about how there's like a protective layer of ice to keep it enclosed in a way, and once you get past that protective layer, there's burning and fire and brimstone and stuff like that. I personally think that the sphere heating is them like laughing at us that hell is getting hotter and they're getting closer to letting this stuff in our realm. That's why it's melting the ice. Keep in mind too, the model that quantum physicists use looks exactly like this. And basically everything that's in Antarctica that's named after a person, it's always named after astrophysicists. The leaders of the occult are always astrophysicists. It's not what people think. They have the general public thinking that they're exploring outer space, and they are in a way, but they're exploring the spiritual realm because there is no outer space. What's interesting is that when you look up a lot of these astrophysicists, they specifically always seem to be on government projects that have to do with UFOs. And they almost always have ties to the
It came in the mail and y'all are opening it with me. Ooh. Smell it. Woo! Here we go.
The Flat Earth map dates back over 1,000 years. This map is credited to being created by a Persian astronomer. His name was Al-Biruni, and he lived between 973 AD to 1048 AD. It's the official map of the United Nations and also the United States Geological Survey. It used to be present in many places before the creation of NASA and the Antarctic Treaty in 1959. Here you see it with Admiral Byrd. This map has been restored by Dmitry from Russia with suggestions of mine, Idialenkar. Known by my YouTube channel Flat Earth Banjo, I asked Dmitry to include the Bermuda Triangle and Point Nemo, a place deep in the Pacific where NASA buries rockets. Then Robert Tozzi, a professional mapmaker, came along and enhanced the map even more. There are many people now selling this map online, but if you could order it from my online store, I would greatly appreciate it. Visit my online store now and order one of the items. I humbly thank you.